Can you speak to
Okay.
how form kind of shapes your vocabulary,
Yeah,
your musical expression a little bit?
yeah, that's kind of where I was going. So I would say that whether I'm writing something that's more conventional or less conventional, I'm always trying to pay attention to the form and trying to pay attention to the sounds and where they're leading me.
Hmm.
So I'm always listening, I think, in short. And I try not to take a super top-down approach to form. I try to take a more local approach with just at any moment in a composition paying attention to what feels like should happen next, what feels like where the sounds feel like they're going, where the energy feels like it's going.
Right.
But being sensitive to that, not sitting someplace for too long or for arbitrary reasons that don't really have to do with what's actually happening sonically or in the whole sensory spectrum, because of course sound doesn't just take place in a vacuum. There's
Right.
other stuff happening. Um, I
Well,
think that's really important.
in my musical training, we were taught that one of those tools to sort of help a listener along, a sort of repetition. You take a bit of something,
Mhm.
but you have to say it over again to give them this idea that they're in a familiar place, right? Do you try to do that even in experimental
Yeah,
music?
I would. Oh, yeah, I would say so. I think it depends on the composer. Some experimental composers historically have not been very into repetition, which
Hmm.
I'm not really a proponent of. I
Hmm.
very much like repetition. I think when I'm improvising and when I'm composing, and often I sort of there's a middle ground between the two that I like to explore. But I would say that yeah, repetition is hugely important for exactly the reasons you said. It helps to orient a listener in a huge way. Um, there have even been studies on this that people
Hmm.
just they love repetition.
They do, and that's why we
It's
have
very, I
top
think
40 radio, because it goes over and over again with those ideas, and it is redundant. I will say that. I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
degenerate. I'm saying it happens. We hear the same things over and over again, but it gives us that familiarity, that place where we can
Mhm.
say, I know I've heard this before. I know where I am in the piece.
Yeah. Exactly. And it actually some people would even say that like there have been some studies, and I'm currently blanking on the name of the author who said this, but that repetition actually creates a participatory effect for the listener. So because you know what's happening, it's almost as if you are participating along in your mind because you have that sense of where something is going. So it's immersive in a way.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I'm hugely into repetition. I also think that even if you're not exactly repeating something, staying within the same kind of sound world, kind of just doing similar
Hmm.
things for a
Hmm.
while can be hugely important. So not just jumping really quickly from thing to thing, but just really sitting in a sound, allowing it to unfold, and not doing too much. So I think another thing that I another technique that I use is I try to not do too much at one time so that the attention of the listener is really given the agency to wander and to really dive deep into whatever is happening rather than sort of being pushed out by just trying to, hang on
Yeah,
and
yeah. And how much can I throw at the wall here? How much will stick on the wall? That can be really
yeah, which some
disorienting for the
people
poor listener. We're just trying to get you into your head a little bit and understand what you're trying to say. If you try to throw everything at us, we don't have really even a snippet of a kernel to kind of latch on to. So that's really useful if I think if the composer can give us something to guide us through.
I think so, yeah. And one of my favorite composers, Anna Lockwood, who I've really been very fortunate to actually interact with. She's now a mentor. She's really just a
Hmm.
beautiful human being,
It's
but
really
she's
great.
one of my absolute heroes. I adore her music. She is someone who she will find an interesting sound and she will just stay with that sound for a very long time. She
Mm.
works a lot with field recordings.
Wow.
She works a lot with non-standard techniques on instruments, with found objects, and her music is just very slow and detailed and sparse. But the thing is that that allows you, the listener, to just really go into just the texture of it and just the fine granular details of it. And it's,
Right.
it takes patience that I think we're not accustomed to in, the our modern world of, Instagram and
Yeah.
cell phones, and
Right.
where it's a little bit of a leap intentionally, but I think if you can get there, it's a really rewarding experience. So people like that are who I'm really inspired by, and
Hmm.
who really I often try to emulate, I would say, in my work.
That's fantastic. Before I let you go, what are your future plans? What do you want to do after PhD World?
Mm. So that's something that I'm figuring out, and
Sure.
I feel like you've asked me that not on this.
Oh man, with
You've
a
asked
dad
me
ever
that
asks his
recently, and I
daughter, what are you gonna do after you grow up? Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I'm still figuring that out. I would say so I have 2 years left. This year is ramping up to the dissertation. Next year is going to be writing the dissertation in earnest and doing a capstone concert.
Hmm.
My plan right now is I think I want to get out of academia for a bit.
Hmm.
Academia has been it's given me so much, but I think that getting a little bit of distance and a little bit of perspective, even if it's only temporary, I
Hmm.
think would be valuable for
Sure.
me as an artist and as a human. And then so probably I'll be looking for jobs
Hmm.
in audio, whether that's live sound or a studio situation or mixing or film sound, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe game sound even, although I don't honestly have I don't have a huge amount of experience with video games.
Hey.
But uh so that would probably be where I would be looking for work, but any place that'll where I can make the paycheck.
And
But
you had mentioned film scores. You still like to do that?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably not. There's a path in which you fully commit
Immersion.
to that path,
Yeah.
which I think is not what I'm looking to do, but I
Okay.
absolutely would like to continue to score indie films.
You've done a few, right? I mean, how many have you done
Yeah,
now in your life?
yeah, I've done several.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy it. It's interesting because you have a lot less artistic freedom.
Yeah.
You're really answering to someone else. You're carrying out someone else's creative vision, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also a problem-solving aspect and there's a freeing aspect to that I enjoy.
That's interesting. Yeah,
So
you think about well, you and I both love the movie How to Train Your Dragon and that fantastic score. And the way the
absolutely.
and who was the composer of that? Remind me?
John Powell.
John Powell, thank you. And the way John Powell sort of makes those scenes come to absolute life. I mean, if you peeled that away, some of those scenes you'd be like, oh, okay, cute animation. But when you add that magnificent sweep that he can create, and when
Hmm.
the dragon takes off and suddenly everything is soaring, and those French
Hmm.
horns hit you, and you just that chill up your spine, and you think, well, that is skill. That is an incredible skill to be able to help sort of give us the emotional path of the scene, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it works on a visceral level. It works on a storytelling level that I think goes a little bit deeper psychologically because he's has this leitmotivic structure in that score. It's really wonderful. There's actually a fun example of I assume it's probably still on YouTube somewhere. Someone stripped out the score from Jurassic Park. It's the scene where the scientists they're on the helicopter and they're going to the island for the first time and the helicopter lands and then they get in the car and then they see the dinosaur
Right.
and someone stripped the music out of that and posted it on YouTube, and the scene, it's such a weird scene without the music.
Yeah.
Some of the actors, like there's a scene on the helicopter where they're sort of like looking at each other and sort of like, just smiling at each other. And without the music, it's incredibly awkward. Like there's so much about that scene that's just incredibly awkward, but then if you watch it with the music, it's brilliant. So,
Right. Right.
just the way that music can transform a film is just, it never fails to amaze me. And I love being a part of that. So that's something I think I would say that's, in terms of making money, in terms of career, what I
Hmm.
really want to do. And when people ask me that question, I get too hung up on the practical,
Oh,
I would
sure.
say. But in terms of career, though, I really want to, I'm working a lot with site
Oh,
specificity right now.
wow. Good
Yeah, I'm
luck with that.
interested in I'm interested in ideas of ecology. I'm working with field recordings, and so I want to keep doing that. I
Hmm.
On my trip to Australia, I did a lot of field recording, and it was just I was like, this is what I want to do. This is amazing. Just being like first thing in the morning, all these birds singing. I'm here, I'm recording it. Like amazing. I want to keep doing that. I want to keep working with the environment. I want
Hmm.
to keep raising awareness of these spaces and how, this interconnectivity between the way humans live our lives and the way that other organisms live their
Right.
lives. It's
And a lot of
that's
your
something that's
work, and a
really
lot of
important
your
to me.
work right now in California is sort of out in the desert, right?
That's right. Yeah, out
You
in the
have a retreat
Mojave.
out there. You promised to show it to me, and I will get out there soon, so you can take me out there. But it sounds
Oh,
fascinating.
absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's UCI has the University of California Irvine
Hmm.
has a reserve out there that they manage called the Burns Pinyon Ridge Reserve. It's a little bit outside of Joshua Tree, and it's a beautiful place. There's a house where students can stay very, very cheaply, and just be out there and do work. And a lot of people do ecological work out there, scientific work.
Hmm.
And then there are also people who are working and engaging with the place artistically, visual artists, sound artists, composers such as myself.
Hmm.
And it's just a really special place. And if you're familiar with what Joshua Tree National Park looks like, it looks a lot like that. There's Joshua trees. It's very scrubby.
Hmm. Hmm.
People imagine they think the desert, they often think just, flat and sand, and it's not that at all. It's a rocky desert. It's very hilly, and there's these enormous boulders, and
Hmm.
yeah, and it's very quiet. It's
That's neat.
very, very profoundly quiet.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
so I have a couple pieces that are site specific to that site that I've done. And in
Hmm.
October, I'll be doing some more work out there. That'll be in the desert, site specific. A couple things that I've already composed and work that I'm sort of in the early stages of conceptualizing. That I imagine will probably be very impromptu and
Yeah.
just I'll gather the pieces and have some ideas and then get in the space and be like, all right, what are we doing? I think is probably what that's going to be. But I'm really excited about that and to
That's
keep
great.
working with that space
Yeah.
and hopefully keep working with other spaces in similar ways, even post graduation. And I also perform a lot of my own work,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
to continue performing and presenting my own work, working with some of the collaborators that I've developed relationships with
Hmm.
my friend who I went to Australia with, Oliver George Brown, and then I also have a percussionist friend at Stony Brook, June Cummings, who I'm very, very close with, who we perform together sometimes. So those are the things that probably won't make money, but I
Right.
am
Right.
very much looking forward to
Eh.
continuing
Who
to
needs
do
money?
post graduation. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then maybe I'll go back into academia at some point. I'm not opposed. We'll see.
I've no doubt that you would have open arms someplace in academia for you if you just when you choose to go back. Alyssa,
Mhm.
we have to kind of cut this off. We're running out of time. I want to thank you first for joining me on this program. You always have interesting perspective, and to be able to share that with my listeners is really wonderful. I do want to share with everybody that the Lubbock Symphony will be getting its next season on September 19th with the Chamber Orchestra performing Ladder to the Moon, A Celestial Journey. And that concert will feature the violinist Annie Shalix Boyle performing the composition Ladder to the Moon by Michael Dougherty. And then we'll have our first full stage symphony concert. The LSO will have a full screening. You had mentioned Jurassic Park, Alyssa. And so we'll be doing a full screening of Jurassic Park. We're going to strip the musical score out, put it up on the screen, but I promise the symphony will replace that stripped out score with live performance of it. So it's going to be a very exciting night. Join us on Halloween for Jurassic Park, the full movie with live symphony performance on stage in Buddy Holly Hall. Give us a call, 806-762-1688 for tickets, or go online, lubbocksymphony.org. Alyssa Wixson, thank you. Have
Thank you for having me.
you
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And everyone, have a great day. This is Galen Wixson with ClefNotes.